हेलो एवरीवन ओम सर कोचिंग को तुम मानक स्वागत। आज वीडियो रे आमे नवम श्रेणी इंग्लिश बहिर द पोर्ट्रेट ऑफ ए लेडी रो प्रश्न उत्तर आलोचना करिबा। पार्ट 1 रे फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन देछि हाउ हैज द ऑथर डिस्क्राइब्ड हिज ग्रैंडमदर। आंसर हेबो द ऑथर डिस्क्राइब्स दैट हिज ग्रैंडमदर वाज एन ओल्ड वुमन like everybody's grandmother. Her skin was wrinkled due to old age. She was short and fat and slightly bent. Her physique remained unchanged. She could not have grown older and she stayed at the same age for 20 years. She hobbled with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop. Her face was a crisscross with wrinkles. Second question देछि what impression did the author get looking at his grandfather's photograph? Answer हेबो the photograph of the author's grandfather was hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest and he looked 100 years old. According to the author, his grandfather did not look like the sort of person who would have a wife or children. Rather, he looked as if he had lots of grandchildren. Third question देछि do you think the author's grandmother was a religious person? Why do you think so? Answer है yes, I think that the author's grandmother was a religious lady because she was often telling the beads of her rosary in her one hand. Her lips constantly moved in praying an inaudible prayer. While she bathed his grandson, she said morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song. As a pious lady, she also offered food to the village dogs. Fourth question देछि the author says that he and his grandmother were good friends. Did they do anything together? Answer हेबो after the departure of his parents to the city, the author and his grandmother became close friends, living constantly together. The author's grandmother used to wake him up in the morning and get him ready for the school. She would get the study materials ready for his school. Both went to school regularly. When they walked back, they used to throw stale chapatis to the village dogs. Fifth question देछि why did his grandmother carry chapatis when they went to school? What does this tell you about her? Answer हेबो the author and his grandmother used to go to school together after breakfast. She took stale chapatis with her for the village dogs and offered it to them during their return from the school. This tells us that the author's grandmother was very kind to the animals. Sixth question देछि life was comfortable for the author and his grandmother. Do you think it will continue to be so? Answer हेबो no. I think that the comfortable life of the author and his grandmother would not continue for long as the author could not always stay with her when he went to the city for her higher study. एबे आमे पार्ट 2 रो क्वेश्चन आंसर को आलोचना करिबा। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन देछि द ऑथर एंड हिज ग्रैंडमदर वेयर वेरी क्लोज टू वन अनदर। हाउ डू यू नो दिस? आंसर हेबो द ऑथर्स ग्रैंडमदर वेंट टू स्कूल विथ हिम बिकॉज द स्कूल वाज अटैच्ड टू द टेंपल. When he learned the alphabet and prayer, his grandmother sat reading the scriptures in the temple. Then they walked back home together. After some days, they shifted to the city to live with the author's parents. They shared the same room there, so both were very close to each other. Second question देछि when did their relationship change and why? Answer हेबो the author's parents settled in the city, so he and his grandmother went there and shared the same room. But in the city, she could no longer go to school with him. The author went to an English school alone on a motor bus. Besides, she could not help him with his study. Of course, for some time, she continued to wake him up and would get him ready for the school. They could not revive their previous relationship as a great change had taken place. Third question देछि there were some things about the author's school that his grandmother did not like. What were these? Answer हेबो the author attended an English school in the city. When his grandmother came to know about the lessons taught at the school, she was not happy as she could not help him with his lessons. She was distressed to hear that the students were not taught about the God and the scriptures. One day she heard that the students were being given music lessons. She told that it was not meant for gentle folk as it had lewd association. These were the things about the author's school that his grandmother did not like. Fourth question देछि what happened to their relationship when the author went to the university? Answer ହେବ the author and his grandmother had developed an amiable relationship before, but unfortunately a great change was noticed when the author went to the university for his higher study. He was given a room of his own, so the common link of their friendship was snapped. They were unable to revive their old relationship. His grandmother accepted the unavoidable change. Thereafter, she remained silent and felt lonely and isolated. 5 number question. What did his grandmother do with her time? Answer ହେବ the author went to a university and was separated from his grandmother. She felt it seriously. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel spinning and reciting prayers. In the afternoon, she got some time to feed the sparrows. She sat on the veranda, breaking the bread into pieces, and hundreds of sparrows gathered around her. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. Sixth question ଦେଇଛି the distance between the author and his grandmother grew wider. What do you think will happen next? Answer ହେବ I think after some years distance between an author and his grandmother would become wider and the relationship between them would be completely cut off when the author would go abroad for higher studies. ଏବେ ଆମେ पार्ट 3 रो क्वेश्चन आंसर को आलोचना करिबा. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ଦେଇଛି the author decided to go abroad. Why did he think that his grandmother would be upset? Answer ହେବ the author decided to go abroad for further studies. He thought that his grandmother would be upset because he would be away for 5 years. They were very close to each other. They developed a strong relationship and they had never been separated before. The author had been living with her grandmother since his childhood. Second question ଦେଇଛି how did his grandmother behave when she saw him on his return to the station? Answer ହେବ the author came back home after 5 years. He met his grandmother at the station. She did not look even a day older. She told nothing to him, but she clasped him in her arms. The author could hear her reciting her prayer. She was as silent as she was on the day of his departure. Third question ଦେଇଛି what changes came over her in the evening? Answer ହେବ the author returned home after 5 years and met his grandmother. That evening a change came over her. She did not offer her prayer. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum and started to sing of the homecoming of the warriors. It continued for a long time, so the family members persuaded her to avoid overstraining, keeping in view her weakness. Fourth question ଦେଇଛି was her illness of a serious nature? Answer ହେବ her illness was not so serious. It was a mild fever. The doctor was consulted and he told me that it would go. Her illness was not seemed to be of a serious nature. Fifth question ଦେଇଛି why did she refuse to talk to her family members? Answer ହେବ the grandmother became ill due to a mild fever. It was not so serious. Still she thought differently. She told the family members that her end was near. She expected her death after a few hours. She did not like to waste any more time talking to them, so she refused to talk to the family members. Sixth question ଦେଇଛି what did the author and his family see when they went to take her for a cremation? Answer ହେବ when the author and his family members went to take her for cremation, they found thousands of sparrows set scattered on the floor where she lay dead and stiff, rubbed in the red shroud, but there were no chirping. They felt sorry for the birds, so the author's mother offered them little crumbs of bread, but the birds did not touch the food. Seventh question ଦେଇଛି what was strange about the behavior of the sparrows? Answer ହେବ when the family members were going to take the corpse, they found a number of sparrows sitting scattered on the floor. They were not chirping that day. So feeling sorry for the birds, the author's mother gave them little crumbs of the bread like her mother-in-law, but they took no notice of the bread. It seemed as if they were mourning over the death of their dear old woman. That was strange about the behavior of the sparrows. ଏବେ ଆମେ लेट्स राइट सेक्शन रो क्वेश्चन आंसर को आलोचना करिबा. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ଦେଇଛି हाउ डज द ऑथर डिस्क्राइब हिज ग्रैंडमदर? आंसर हेबो द ऑथर्स ग्रैंडमदर वाज एन ओल्ड वुमन who had been old and wrinkled. She was short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles. She was a pious lady. She constantly recited an inaudible prayer. Above all, she was very kind and affectionate. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन देछि द ऑथर एंड हिज ग्रैंडमदर वेयर गुड फ्रेंड्स गिव एग्जांपल्स टू सपोर्ट दिस स्टेटमेंट आंसर हेबो द ऑथर्स पेरेंट्स शिफ्टेड टू द सिटी लिविंग हिम with his grandmother in the village. They lived together in the village and became very close to each other. His grandmother took his utmost care. Every morning she used to get him ready for the school. Both walked to the school regularly and threw staple chapatis to the village dogs during their return. Even when they moved to the city to live with the author's parents, they shared the same room for some years. Third question देछि how did the author's grandmother behave when he was going abroad? Answer हेबो when author was going abroad, his grandmother went to see him off at the railway station. She neither told anything to him nor showed any emotion there. She realized the situation and she was not sentimental. Rather, her mind was lost in prayer. Just she kissed his forehead silently. Fourth question देछि the author's grandmother was a religious lady. Do you agree and why? Answer हेबो the author's grandmother was really a religious lady. She was very meek and mild and she had firm faith in God. So her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Most of her time was spent telling the beads of her rosary. She believed in God and never did any harm to others. During her stay in the village, she used to give food to the village dogs and in the city to the sparrows. Fifth question देछि how did the sparrows behave when the grandmother died? Answer हेबो when the grandmother died, the sparrows behaved in a quite strange way. Since it was daytime, thousands of sparrows whom she used to feed regularly sat scattered on the floor silently. That day, they did not make their usual chirping. It revealed that they were lamenting over the death of the old woman. The author's mother offered them some bread to eat, but they did not look at the food. When they carried her dead body, the birds flew away silently. 6 number question देछि the author and his grandmother shared a very close relationship. This changed when they moved to the city. Why did this happen? Answer हेबो their relationship changed when they moved to the city because in the village they used to go to school together, but in the city the author studied in an English school and went there alone on a motor bus. His grandmother could not accompany him. She was not happy about the lessons taught to the author at the school. She could no longer help the author with his lessons. When the author went to the university, he was given a separate room. ताहले ए थिला आजिर प्रश्न उत्तर वीडियो जदि वीडियोटी भल लगी था वीडियो को लाइक करंतु एवं एमिति सब विषयर प्रश्न उत्तर पाइबा पई ओम सर कोचिंग चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दियंतु।